home for their music, and we can just sort of create a space with the audience, and the artist can co-create their experience. As an artist, you have something to share, and as an audience, you have something to receive. The thing is, by the time we're getting into Blankets, we already, and by we, I mean myself and the other artists who are at that time sitting in this other box, so think Just a Band, Eric Wainaina, Sauti Sol. What we knew for a fact was when we played music to audiences, they liked it. And before you're an artist, you're first a fan of music. And that idea of creating a space for a joyous communion around music, where fans can just like drop your guard and you can sing with somebody who you don't know and you've never interacted with, but you're having this connection around this lyric that means so much to each of you. I thought it was something really sacred and worthwhile to dedicate my life to. And when the thing started, it really became clear to me that this is a service. We're providing a service for artists, we're providing a service for audience, people who need a day to suspend reality, to find and seek joy, to commune, to be in real life, to experience something. And I think there's another thing also around how we find things, like how do you discover things? At that, at that time when we started, everything was so kind of radio driven or cloud driven. There were no third spaces for, like, if I'm not in the bar and if I don't listen to this radio sound, where will I find something that will inspire me? Where will I hear something new? Where will I experience something new? I remember very early making quite a call that this is a place where you can wear whatever you want, because also we belong to a space that is like very, it tells you what you should wear. It tells you how you should look. It tells you who is acceptable and who is not acceptable. So we're like, we want to use music to build a little paradise, actually. A place where you come, the thing that has brought you is music, the thing that you will celebrate is music, the thing that you will be immersed in is music, but bring your whole self, bring your fashion, bring your friends, bring your family, discover something new, share that experience with somebody, and feel love. Just feel love, be loved on. Because also a lot of the spaces where music is created or shared in, they're not made to love you. They're not made to love artists. Actually, a lot of the places where music is played, music is this, it's like TNT, right? They're places that are designed to extract money from your pocket and to numb you from your pain with, variations of things. And music is always kind of like the afterthought. And you can check it today wherever you go to your local. Just look at what have they thought about music? How is music actually meant to be presented? So we wanted to make a space where you can actually feel love, and so Blankets in Mind for us is all these things. It's now actually a vocation. All the time we're like, what's happening? Why are we still here? There's such a vocation to this work. There's such an intentional practice of love for the artists and for the city and for ourselves. Because also, I don't know, there's not a lot of things that allow us to dignify ourselves. We were not taught to love ourselves. We were not taught to love your music. You were not taught to love your local language. You were not taught to take great pride in who you are. You were not taught to try and to be audacious in your attempt to try. In Kenya, we are taught to succeed. Only succeed, only succeed. And you should be ashamed if you try and then it doesn't work. And that's not true. An artist's life is trying. You try 1,000 times before you get to one chord on the guitar right, and then you try 1,000 more times before that thing enters your brain. And so the art practice itself is a space of trying and a space of experimenting and a space of growing. And the art practice and the spiritual practice and the music practice are kind of all wrapped up into what Blankets and Wine is for me.
I mean, it's very evident. You live, breathe. Empty cube, Blankets and Wine is the same thing, right? A lot of people have that conception.
No, it's not the same thing. It's really not the same thing. It's an extension of, but I put the same amount of care into that as I put into making, a piece of art. To me, it's the same creative energy, and it's to produce, it's for the same things. I'm interrogating the same things. How far can you go? What can you try? What can you experiment? How can this be better? How can you get clearer? It's the same thing, but it's not the same person. And suddenly there's other people who have other opinions about what blankets is for them.
That's true. And I'll let everybody actually describe for themselves, because where I was going with the people say blankets and modoni is the same thing. For me, it feels like it's something that you birthed, and it's a child who's grown, and you've allowed that child to just try all these things. Oh, mom, I want to do this. You'll do it, and then the more things that grow, the more the child grows, you're just there also supporting and pouring into it. And it feels like the village that you have curated is also growing this child into such a powerful, powerful child and adult. Justine, you're very, very hands-on. You've been there for as long as Blankets and Wine can be remembered. Please tell us, to you, what is Blankets? What is Blankets and Wine?
I think I'll speak on the operation of blankets and what it stands and how it stands in the economy of the creative economy. When blankets runs, really, it's an ecosystem. It's an economic ecosystem for us, essentially. So from the artists that we book, the suppliers, the amount of money that runs when the festival runs, that there's jobs, there's food on the table for somebody. So when I think about it, I think about it as like a little ecosystem that runs on that one day with suppliers, vendors, small businesses. The vendors, artists have hired their bands, stylists, makeup artists. It's really, that really for me that's what stands out in what we do, really. The support that what we struggle with every single day that we're trying to plan and we do really trickles down to so many people, and there's so much money that runs and supports, and really, that really speaks to what we choose to do when we run it.
An ecosystem, an economic ecosystem, that for that one day that Blankets happens, there's lots of money that is flowing around, and it is ensuring that these people get to put food on their tables.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's that culture is not just expression, or it really is a business. There's an industry, there's need to invest in it because there's actually money that can come out.
Michelle?
Right, so I think for me, I'd take a different approach in responding to that question. I'm not as old as much of the team is to the to the group, so I'll respond from an outside point of view. So before I joined the team, Blankets would just be known for being a gig and events. People would be going to concerts. But now when you're on the inside and you look at all the elements that go into it, you're thinking culture. What does culture mean? You're thinking there's food, there's experience, there's artists, there's putting together a festival, there's all these production elements. So for me, I feel like this is just a whole ecosystem that operates to create a space for people to experience fun, joy, and connection. So for me, I'd say Blankets is basically just a platform that creates a space for everybody to just experience joy. And joy just basically means, that whole mix of the music, the connections with people, lots of people get to meet the loves of their lives at the festival, So it's just a space where people can come and connect and enjoy and have joy together. So for me, that would be my picture of what Blankets is.
I love that. And it's so interesting you mentioned people come and meet the loves of their lives. I can tell you everybody I've dated just by virtue of the Blankets and Wine timeline. Tayana, I was with this guy, I remember. I remember this one. And all of them, Mamba Village, Zote. And I'm sure there are people who met at Blankets and today they have a 15-year-old child. Yeah? Diane, what is Blankets and Wine to you?
Right, so for me, Blankets is just a as the brand, very intentional and passionate about community. Because for us, getting to these 16 years, we couldn't have done it without the community that continuously supports us. And so being able to create a space, as Mudoni had said, that's inclusive, you know, like come as you are and meet, you know, your tribe, meet your peeps. And also just the whole element of connecting offline. Because, you know, we're like in a digital era, like we're on socials and everything, but now here's this festival where you can come and intentionally meet people, interact with brands, you know, discover new music, discover new products, and all of that. So for me, it's just the whole element of community, a space for people to come, enjoy, you know, get that joy and happiness, and just commune. So I would say that's what blankets is for me.
And I think it's so important actually what you said about connecting offline, because you know, even with my family, we live like 10 minutes away from each other, but sometimes we go a month, 2 months, we're not seeing each other, but because we're talking on WhatsApp and sending memes on Twitter and Instagram, we feel like we're seeing each other. So there's people who I know, if I go to Blankets, I will see them, which is such a wonderful thing, I think, to reflect on. Yeah. I'm gonna mix up the questions a little bit just because we have somebody who needs to leave in about 10 minutes. So this is a question for Sandra, who is with the British Council, but she's also someone who was there from day one. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure you were hosting with the Hule at Tayana, you know, way back when. But this question is, you know, to Sandra, you know, the British Council has long been an ally in cultural exchange and a key player in the export of culture and creative economy development. So from your perspective, what role does the British Council see culture and creativity playing in shaping international collaboration today, particularly between Kenya and the UK? And I have to say, this is 2025 is the first year Blankets and Wine went to Bradford. I struggled with that word. I've been struggling. Bradford. Yeah, Blankets and Wine ilifika maju. Sandra, tell us.
This microphone doesn't want to be on so far. That. Hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Sandra Cheke. I'm head of arts at the British Council, and I'm also the director of the UK-Kenya season, which is on now, and is part of the collaboration that Blankets and Wine had this year in Bradford as part of the UK City of Culture. So I think the value of collaboration is endless. And the reason that we do the work that we do to facilitate these kinds of collaborations is because we recognize different elements of what has been mentioned by everyone on stage. There's a part there that is about community and othering that happens. There are often assumptions that people from elsewhere are just different, better, worse. You know, we come with our preloaded perceptions and stereotypes about the other, and once we get to experience each other through culture, a shift happens. It might be subtle, but it's there, and it changes how we think, and it changes how we view the world, and that's one of the values of collaborations like the one that we've had. It also has an impact on the economy, as Justine has mentioned. When we think about access to market, which is one of the things that we're very interested in at the British Council, is how do creatives find their audiences and their customers, wherever they might be in the world. How do you prepare for an international collaboration or opportunity and land softly through deliberate programming that is thoughtful, that is generous, that is about artistic integrity and practice, so that the artists also get to explore their craft and really think about why they're doing what they're doing and what it means to them personally, but also what it means to their communities. So there are very many different facets when we think about international collaboration, and I think that's why this partnership with Blankets and Wine has been really interesting, because there's also the additional question of shifting narratives of Kenya in the UK and the UK in Kenya. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing to see the kind of reception contemporary work from Kenya received in Bradford in September, because it's a rare event, primarily because just the thinking of the perception of what it means to do work abroad and collaborate with your peers there is a little alien. We don't have that level of integrated, collaborative practice from design to delivery often. So that is part of the joy of this kind of international collaboration, and I'm really excited to see Blankets do more in the future.
Hallelujah. Yes. Thank you so much. And I think it's great to appreciate, even though sometimes it can feel like, okay, why do we need others to then come and, you know, tell us actually what you're doing is great, we'd like to support that. I think it's a beautiful thing to think of the collaborations that cut across borders, because at the end of the day, a musician in South Africa, in Algeria, in Bolivia, in the UK, the drive to create is the same. Whatever comes out could be different, it's different languages, but we all understand the language of music. So I think it's such a beautiful thing to see that such partnerships are so meaningful to spaces like these. Thank you so much. Now, 16 years. 16 years. I come from the time of Beats of the Season Festival. I don't know if you remember that. And it seems to be the only festival I can remember. Then after that came Sawa Sawa, and then Blankets. I feel like everything else came after Blankets. 16 years, how do you keep something like Blankets and Wine going for 16 years? And you are stronger than ever, bigger than ever. You're still doing the thing. We've survived a global pandemic, and you're still going. How do you do it? How have you done it? And why have you kept going? Odani.
Yeah, that's really a good question. And indeed, we did survive a global pandemic. Sometimes we forget that. Yeah, we forget that. So two things. The first one is our absolute commitment to the thing that we do, which is platform music, platform work, platform work, platform work. Just figure it out. You just work through it. For sure. It is not money that has kept us going. It is not popularity. It is not potential. It's kind of just that devotion to the work, devotion to the mission. This work we do is mission for us. It's truly mission. And somebody's got to build the thing, and we are the man in the ring building the thing, so just continue, right? And the second part, I think, is because we've never deviated. The thing has always been three things. It's artistic programming, it's production, and it's community. It's those three things. What has happened over the years is, each pillar becomes deeper, wider, more people, but there is no deviation from the plan. It's artistic programming and having incredible integrity around that. It's production. It's just learning, figuring, doing, working within the confines of what we have and making the best, of what we have at every opportunity. And then it's just building out the community. And we've seen that grow, because initially it was just our friends, and friends brought friends, and friends brought brands, and brands brought partners, partners brought media. It's just kind of that thing that, that's how, I would say. Yeah.
And wait, you said the how, but the why. Why is it that we're sitting here saying we are also going to talk about what's coming next?
Yeah, because I think this is what I mean, the devotion to the work. Because we deserve it. Because the artists deserve a platform that honors them and puts them first. And audiences deserve a platform to discover. In fact, I don't know if we can already see how, as human beings, we are kind of effed by the algorithmic world that's around us, right? The algorithms are deciding what you see, what you think, what your opinion about a particular topic is. The algorithm will pick a topic and make it that's the topic, that's the thing that we're talking about. There is going to be an ever-increasing need for spaces for human beings to interact in real life. Right now, if you're listening to music like on one of your favorite platforms, honestly, you don't know what is AI music and what is human music. The idea of music, the thing that carried you when you were grieving your mom, you don't know if that song is a person or an algorithm. That's an insane thing. So just kind of understanding that we must hold space for human beings and we must hold space for creativity. We must create a space for wow. The human spirit requires a moment of wow, a moment of wonder, a moment of freedom. Like, whatever is going on in your life at that day, on the day called Blankets and Wine, you are allowed to suspend reality and just be present to that thing and to feel the energy of 5,000 people jamming to a DJ song that you've never had, that you didn't know, but actually even you're in the vibes. Those things are spiritual. They're the essence of being a person. And music spaces are very much owned by corporations. And even some of your favorite artists are very much owned by corporations. And so somebody has got to make the space for music to be free, for imagination to be free, for human expression in its messiness, in its clumsiness, in its totality to be free. And Blankets and Wine is that space.
You have said